I've been falling in love with a new brand of running shoes, and that brand is Anta. Today, I have with me the C202 and the Anta Zone 2. Two incredibly similar styled shoes, but how similarly do they run?
Get up, no, get moving. Molly is a ritter, I the notion. Body's money get to stay in motion. But now you're working wicked past me. On the urge, you're on top. Happy stop, let's go.
So I wasn't chatting with you all during this whole run because I just blasted it. I just felt good immediately. After I got some camera shots, I just sent, and that was an average pace of 7 minutes flat, which if you look at the moving pace, which I will eventually, that's pretty darn fast. That is marathon pace for 11 miles averaged, basically, a little bit slower, but God, that was a good run. That was like the best run that I've had in a long time. They're getting better and better. And all the secret to this run is that it's 35 degrees today. It's all that it took. And the Anta C202, total banger. Great shoe. Love it. We'll talk more soon. I have a lot to do today. Oh God. I'm still tired from that. And with that, back to the studio. And we're back in the studio with the Anta Zone 2 and the C202 after I just got back from a run in the C202, and that was a run. That was a proper speed session that I really didn't see coming. It helps when I have some urgent tasks at work to return to motivate me to run quickly, but I did not expect it to be such a quick run, especially with how sloppy the roads were today. It was melting snow and slush all across all the roads, soaking wet, puddles everywhere. It was dripping with mud when I came back. And I had a grand old time, and that's why I have been enjoying the C202. It's just a tank that could do anything that I ask it to do at any time that I ask it to do it. And that's how I've been experiencing this shoe. And it's very similar to the C202 in aesthetics especially, but also in its midsole construction. While the foam is different, the process is the same, and the shape of the midsole is also identical. So we could see from the back, the only difference between these two shoes is there is an extended carbon plate in the rear of the C202, and there's this little open slit right here. And with the Zone 2, that is obviously sealed off because there's no slit. But for the bottom of the heel, there are these two little holes, sort of the bottom of the heel, right before the outsole starts. Both of them have the markings of these two holes right here in the exact same place. And it has the exact same foam imprint right through here. So it's identical. The upper is a bit different. The mesh in the C202 is a bit more race ready, open mesh, and a little scratchier, although it has a nice structure to it. The upper on the Zone 2, frankly, is a little nicer. It's more fabricy, more like the light lock system in Adidas. It's just like a fabricier. Maybe not quite as soft as like the Adios 9 or the Adios Pro 4, but along those same thematic lines. The foams are different in these two shoes. This is the N90, which is their nitrogen 90% energy returning foam. I believe they're both TPEs, especially in the C202. It just feels very, very similar to Lightstrike Pro, the N85. And so I'd imagine they're both the same compound that have been foamed slightly differently. Probably the Zone 2 has an airier foaming because that's what it feels like. It feels a little bit softer underfoot and just generally airier in its propulsion and in how you land on it and how it propels you forward. But both have that elasticy nature to it as well that I experience in TPEEs. And that's very, subjective, of course, but that is how I'm experiencing them. One way that these two shoes are a bit different is that the outsole I have found on the C202 is great, and it keeps me planted on the ground, and today was further emphatic evidence of that fact, that I just could whip around corners. Similar to recently the Saucony Endorphin Azura, I feel very confident taking corners in that shoe. Zone 2, this is going to be hard just because they look so identical. The C202 I feel very comfortable taking sharp corners in. Not true of the Zone 2 because I do feel like I have a bit more play in the foam. I'm more prone to pronating extremely because I do pronate pretty heavily. In any shoe, but this exacerbates it, and I feel like my foot could be coming off the platform a bit at times. So Zone 2, not an excellent cornering shoe. Also not a shoe that was developed for racing. Now, of course, the name implies that it's a Zone 2 shoe. I've touched on this in my previous reviews of this shoe, that I don't buy it. I think it's faster than a Zone 2 shoe. I think it's more of a Zone 3 shoe. But at least in this way, in the way that the foam collapses so much and there's no stabilizing element other than perhaps a midfoot shank, because it doesn't flex fully. So perhaps there's a midfoot shank in here. That's the way that this was maybe toned down from a full-fledged speed trainer. In that it isn't stable through the corners. That's the only characteristic of the Zone 2 that slows it down for me. Otherwise, it feels pretty much just as fast as the C202 here. And then looking at their outsoles are also nearly identical other than being different colors. They have the same print on them, as far as I could tell. To my eyes, it's the same print. It must be a different compound. And touching it, it does tactily feel like a different compound. The red Zone 2 rubber doesn't feel quite as sticky to the touch, but it's not that big of a gap. And it's interesting to me how that could translate onto the road in such a impactful felt way. Like, I feel not confident in the Zone 2. I do feel very confident in the C202 That said, the Zone 2 is a bit more comfortable underfoot. Like, the foam is softer, so your feet are probably going to like it a little bit more. And the carbon plate, especially since it's an extended carbon plate in the C202 gives sort of this reverberative shockwave thing occasionally. I didn't actually have that on the run today, but I was very locked in on the run today. I was hitting there's a stretch where I was hitting 636, 636, and 634 in a row, that's some consistent splits right there. So I was not paying a ton of attention to any plate reverberations that I've gotten from this in the past. And of course, you're not going to get any of that in the Zone 2. But other than that, they are crazy similar shoes. The lockdown is similar. The way the shoe fits is similar. The tongues are different. This is a thinner tongue. The Zone 2 has a thicker tongue. And I think it stays in place a little bit better, but neither are gusseted. And I'm glad that they're not. I'm not in favor of gussets, generally speaking. They just don't work for me. They apply pressure to my arch. That's it. That's the comparison. I know it's abrupt to bring it to a close, but that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for your attention, and as always, stay in motion.